Hey Dave,
Hello, Addy. How are you?
I'm good. About you?
Just fine, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good to see you. We spent quite a little while trying to put this one together. It's been a bit of a chore, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been a challenge.
We keep changing our setup. So look at the camera for a minute, Addy.
Yeah.
So we keep changing our setup, and this is a new format for us as well. And we're hoping that it's going to work well. We're trying to get down to a system where it actually glows together. It doesn't take us an hour and a half to set up to do a 1-hour podcast or something. But anyway,
we're getting there.
Welcome. So tell the people about REMarkTO, Addy.
Oh, Real Estate Marketing Toronto is Toronto's largest real estate marketing group. We are a part of Meetup, and you can find us at meetup.com/REMarkTO. We are over 2,600 members now. Yeah, so we are one of the fastest growing groups as well. So what we talk about is real estate, we talk about marketing, we talk about different aspects of real estate, like what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about the market in general. We're going to be looking at the new mortgage rules that have come in. A lot of you are probably feeling the pinch that you're seeing mortgages not getting approved.
They call it a stress test.
Yeah.
They call it a stress test for a reason, don't they?
Yeah, they're just stressing us.
Absolutely. I'm trying to plug this in.
Yeah, I'll take care of that. So, and then we're also going to be looking at, this is one of the questions that we were talking about earlier today, that how, like, if you're an agent that's in the market for a little bit now, and you're looking to find predictable business, how would you go about creating a marketing stream or an income stream? And this is something that we were talking about earlier, where I was saying, I do a lot of business in income real estate, and I wanted to have a stream being created in listings, for example. So if I wanted to have predictable business coming in, how would I go about that? About creating that? So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about a Realtor Quest coming up next week, and we have the TREP directors. So 3 directors at large, and I believe 4 or 6 directors, brokerage and non-brokerage regional directors, are going to be chosen by the Toronto Real Estate Board, along with the president-elect coming in. So, absolutely, and that's really important, and we're going to talk about it. But not that this is just a Toronto Real Estate Board topic center, right? Mm-hmm.
So I know the Toronto Real Estate Board is obviously the largest board in Ontario, and has more than half the members of the Ontario Real Estate Association in it. And it's important we talk about it, but this is not a Toronto real estate thing. So, well,
we are going to talk about the market in general, so I'm going to be relying on Toronto numbers, and I'm going to be looking at you to rely on the numbers that are coming in from Coburg.
But I think it's really important that REMarkTO is a marketing forum. It's where we talk about sales and marketing skills and markets and try to share with people what is happening today to help people particularly salespeople, whether they're real estate salespeople or mortgage salespeople or carpet salespeople or refrigerator salespeople. We want to talk about things that will help those types of folks who make their living that way, feed their children by selling things, helping people buy and sell things, which is a very honorable way to make a living. We want to try and share the things we need to do to do it better and make more. That's the goal.
Yep.
And that's what REMarkTO is all about, and it's really a pleasure and an honor to be involved with it, and we're having fun at the same time, which is even more of a bonus, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I get to have fun at my job.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And half the fun's unpacking the box and getting all the crap put together to make it work,
Yeah, like today we were actually just in the process of updating our devices that a lot of us actually go through, and ran into an issue where the device wasn't actually updating as I wanted it to. And so we've been sitting here talking and rehashing all the ideas that we're gonna be discussing with you today. So Dave, let's get into it then. So market in general. What are you seeing in your neck of the woods out in Coburg?
Well, I'm in Coburg, so I'm more of a rural, if you could call it that. It's or a small urban market, and we're in a transition. We're definitely in a transition. We didn't enjoy necessarily the same spike that the Toronto real estate market had in home values several years ago that the Toronto real estate market enjoyed. But we certainly suffered through, and I think the whole province is suffering through, the real lack of inventory, the challenge that we're all having gathering inventory and having having things that people want to buy. They say you can't sell potatoes from an empty cart, but our cart's been pretty empty for almost 24 months now, and that's been a challenge. That's been a real challenge. Along with that, well, that challenge creates an environment where there's not enough houses available for people to buy, so you have a pent-up demand, and understanding that can have sellers start to feel like they're in the driver's seat, and to a degree they are. So we're seeing prices climbing, like asking prices climbing over the last 24 months, and so then buyers aren't necessarily they're not experiencing the same feeding frenzy they may have experienced a while ago. So things are slowing down.
That's interesting.
Things are slowing down.
Yeah. Isn't it funny though, like the way the buyer's mentality works, that when there is a feeding frenzy going on, people are willing to pay a large amount of money.
Yeah.
And now when the properties are cheaper, nobody wants to move forward.
No one wants to move forward.
Yeah. So it's all about psychology. So I guess it's an important topic that everybody should understand, that when you're looking at the market, you should be going in when nobody else is going in, because that's when you can make the most amount of money. And more millionaires are made when the market is down versus when the market is actually going up. Well, okay. Going up is everybody makes money if the market keeps on going up. So your risk is minimum. But when you're entering the market early and you're able to take advantage of a really, really low price purchase, it actually amplifies your results.
It does. Now those circumstances, I think, may have disappeared for a while. You know, but that's absolutely true what you're saying. I think that we've got to, as salespeople, I know that my business has become much more focused on generating inventory, because having buyers in the loop right now is well, you said that yourself about your investment side, right? Like having a whole ton of buyers right now isn't really as fruitful as it might be, because there's just not anything to sell them, right?
Yeah.
It's hard that way, and especially if you're driving around, like if you're focused on one little part of the market geographically, then maybe it's okay to do that. But if you're driving all over the city of Toronto, or driving all over Northumberland County, or all over Prince Edward County, or or whatever, then you can spend a lot of time in a vehicle and burn a lot of gas, and when you get there, there's too many people that want to buy that property, and you're not always successful with it, right? So as a business model, my team has started to refocus on trying to generate inventory. That's been the real focus for us.
And how are you looking at achieving that?
Well, that's the conversation that I think that all salespeople should be having right now, and it's there's probably 5 different ways to try and attack that, and it depends on where you are in your career, I suppose, and the kind of business you've already built, right? So I've been really fortunate. I've been working in the same market for almost 26 years now, and successfully. So
60 miles east of Toronto?
60 miles east of Toronto, that's it. Thank you, Addy. Yeah. So if anyone is looking for property 60 miles east of Toronto, you're just looking for a good agent. That's all. You found them right here. But
I love this.
But because I've been lucky enough to do it in the same market for such a long time, I've got a database of past clients.
Yeah.
And I think that there's no question that the absolute best business comes from your past. And we've worked. Well, truthfully, we haven't done near as good a job as we could have, but we try to cultivate relationships with our past clients, and we let them know that they're very much welcomed, and we're here to help them as they move forward, and help anyone who's important to them, their friends or their family, that type of thing. We ask them to introduce them to us, and that's by referral. Without question, or past business is the best business you're going to get. And interestingly enough, I was reading an article, Addy, where the typical real estate agent spends almost 80% of their marketing dollars trying to generate business with people they don't know, and 20% of their other marketing dollars trying to generate business with people they do know, their past clients.
Why do you think that is? That's a very interesting stat.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know why it is. It just says, well, I guess maybe because the marketing companies, the website companies and the door hanger companies and the postcard companies and the newsletter companies, they won't make any money if you're only trying to market to the people you know.
Yeah,
you don't need them, right?
They're good.
They're very good at what they do.
They're very good at what they do. So they're good at selling to us as agents that lead generation. Your lead generation means that you go out and you send a flyer and you go out and spend money on PPC and you do this and you do that.
That's right.
So, not saying anything bad about those advertising venues, because obviously in our business you need to have the advertising. You need to have that new blood coming in for you to survive in the long term. But it's something to consider that, you know, if you've been in the business for, let's say, 3 to 5 years, you have probably 50 or 60 transactions under your belt, hopefully. And if you have 50 or 60 transactions, that 50 or 60 transaction could lead you to, I don't know, 100,000 GCI.
Well,
if you just worked it.
If you do the math, and again, it's if you have 50 or 60 transactions, then in theory you'd have 50 people in your database. Mm-hmm. For round numbers, let's say you've been doing it twice as long, you have 100 people in your database.
Yes.
Okay, so it just makes it easier for number-wise. Experts will tell us that your database should convert a 20% return, which means if you have 100 people in your database, you should expect to do it. You should expect every one of those people in that database to introduce you to either a buyer or a seller that will convert to a contract, like it will convert to a closing, at least once every 5 years. That's all it is. Yeah. Once every 5 years, so everyone in that database should send you something. That's 20 transactions a year.
That's amazing.
But that's the math.
Yeah.
If you've got and cultivated a good database, then you should expect a 20% return. Even if it's a 15% return, that's still 15 transactions a year out of a 100 people database, right?
And how many calls do people usually make?
Well, that's the point. Isn't it?
Like we're talking like 120 to 150 calls an hour. That's what these agents are pushing out.
Yeah, I know. And
that's how many you have to make in a year.
I know, it's crazy, Addy. I belong to a group that meets once a month in Mississauga. Realtors from all over Ontario. They're all top producing agents, and we all base our business on, the common thread for all of us is we base our business on working with referral business as opposed to new business. And every month when we meet, we arrange for speakers to come in and present to us and different marketing things to talk. And last month we had a guy come in, and his product was absolutely phenomenal. It was a company that produces a newsletter. They have a website. They have their newsletter is all personalized. Then they've got a database that you can tie into. You tell them who you want it sent to. They can do it by postal code. They can do it by people you know. They can do it all kinds of different ways. And then you can follow up by text and follow up by email. It's a whole system, the whole system. And it was, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think it was like $250 setup fee and then $100 a month for up to a database up to so many people or whatever. Right? You know, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking, I already run 2 databases now. Yeah. You know, and I have the way my business is set up, I have top producer for a part of my business, and I have another database for another part of my business, and I have that one. And I'm sitting beside a lady from Collingwood, market just like mine, and she's top agent one of the top agents in her market, and she has a database. I think she runs 2 as well. Top producer and another one. We don't do exactly the same, so the second one. But we looked at each other, and I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "Why would I need another database? Yeah. You know, like, why would I build this into my business? Like, it's a great product. It looks like a great product, and it's really shiny. Yeah. You know, like if you buy those shiny things, absolutely, it's just spectacular. And I'd be so proud to put this in with my name on it because it's so well done. But the reality of it is, most of this is targeting people that you don't know and trying to make them think, oh, Dave's a wonderful agent. Look at the quality of the product he just sent to me. And he's farming an area and all the rest of it, right? And that's the target when both this lady and we both looked at each other and said, but our business, the bulk of our business comes from people that we've already done business with. Yeah. And it's and I think it's curious that the stat that only 20% of our marketing dollars, and I'm probably guilty of that as well, but 20% of our marketing dollars goes to people where we get all our business, and 80% goes to looking for people that you don't even know yet, that don't know you, trying to build a relationship with strangers, right? And I think that when I thought about that, when I read that, I thought, you know, that's just absolutely crazy. Because I've been in business long enough that I have a database that's like a gold mine, right? Yeah. You know, so someone might say, well, jeepers, instead of spending $100 a month on a newsletter that goes out to strangers, maybe I should take $50 a month and just take 2 of my people in my database and send them out to dinner or something. You know, and maybe that would pay off better, right? Yeah. And it's and in fact, well, yesterday I had a meeting with a guy, had a beer with a guy. I helped him buy a house 22 years ago. He moved to Cobourg, 60 miles. He was in Toronto, wanted to move out into the good life. He moved 60 miles east of the city to Cobourg, and he said, you know, we were talking, we were having a beer in one of the local pubs, and he said, we love it here. The lifestyle is just fantastic. That guy has sent me 3 transactions in the last 10 years.
There you go.
You know, and it's and
so the numbers work.
So I bought his lunch.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, yeah, absolutely, they absolutely work, Addy. And so I think that's one of the if you've been in the business long enough to have a history of even 10 transactions, then you should be looking at building a database to make that work. And then
because there's 2 coming from there every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
And then then you should also be adding to that database with a system, because we have a system for building a database.
Yep.
Build a database with people that you can connect with, that you can still market to, and then the goal shouldn't be to have a 1,500 name database. Shoot for 100. So as you get to 101, drop the worst one off.
Drop the worst one off.
Drop the worst one off and have 100, right?
Oh,
and the next time you sell a house, next time you do a transaction, go back into your database and look for either one that you don't have a strong relationship with, or one that hasn't sent you any business, and drop them off.
So you should always be aiming for 100 people?
Well, no, this is just a number.
Oh,
For
okay.
20% return, you know, it's. I think there's probably a limit to how much you can actually do.
Yeah.
But I mean, no. I know some people will say 150. You know, some people say 200. And these are your top advocates, right?
Yeah,
these are the
these
people.
are your sphere of influence.
Sure.
The people that love you and trust you and will send you referrals whenever they can find somebody.
That's one way of looking at it. Yeah. Or even the benchmark could even be people, if you saw them in the grocery store, you'd know their name.
Ah, yeah.
You know, because
that's true. Yeah.
People that you could actually say, "Oh, Frank, how you doing? It's good to see you. How's Mary?" You know, if you know them well enough, then they could be in your database.
Yeah.
So I know I have people in my database that I helped buy houses 15 or 18 years ago, and the truth of the matter is, if I saw them in the grocery store, I wouldn't know their name.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not a good way to be. So those aren't productive people. There's no reason. It wouldn't be reasonable to expect those people to send someone to you. Like, why would they, right?
Yeah.
It's a relationship business. So if you can't build those relationships, then why would you?
Sure.
So when you think about if you wanted to build a database, you want to think about, as you're building it and adding names to it, you're careful with the people you put in, so that once you've got it built, you can use that as a foundation to start growing a business and building a reliable and predictable income from it. And then as you meet people that you don't know, those are bonuses. If you're at an open house and you meet someone that you don't know and they want you to help them, that's great. That's just great. If you want, in fact, we talked about this, Addy. Or if you have a website and you're doing some random organic searches, or you're doing some pay-per-click on Google, and someone contacts you and they want to buy stuff, they do work. Those systems do work. They just don't work well enough or consistently enough to be predictable, right?
Or your conversion rates are really, really low.
Exactly. That's the point.
So there's a lot of work that is required. So this is why I was saying, you're making 125 calls to get that one lead. So instead of making 125 calls, you call up your database and you have 2 at least coming for the year.
In theory.
In theory.
Yeah.
Or 20%, I should say, instead of 2.
Yeah, so that'd be 20, yeah. So if you're not in a position to run your business that way now, in my opinion, that should be the goal. You should be striving to build a business that can run that way. And that's I've been lucky enough to, and I haven't done near as good a job as I could have, but that's the kind of business that I've built. And so in this transitioning market, when I said we're refocusing on getting inventory, that's exactly what we're doing, is reaching out to our database consistently and reminding them that we're here. And it's not that 20 people, if you had 100 people, it's not that 20 of them are going to buy or sell a house this year, but 20 of them are going to introduce you to someone who's going to buy or sell a house this year. So they're going to have a brother-in-law or a sister or a neighbor or whatever. They're going to have someone they work with, whatever it is, someone that they care about will be doing something, and they will think of you. And it's important too to remember, Addy, I don't mean to dominate this. It's important to remember that always have the philosophy that when someone in your database introduces you to someone, they're not doing it to help you. They're doing it to help the person that they're introducing you to, right? You want them to introduce you to people that they care about. So when they introduce you to someone, they're trying to help someone else. They're not trying to help you. And if you have that attitude, then I think you appreciate the introduction more, right? We don't even call them referrals, in on my team, we call them introductions. When someone introduces me to someone that they care about and says, "Hey, you need to sell your house, Dave can help you," well, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's the highest recommendation you can get.
Now, how much of advertising is agents and their ego?
Oh, geez. That's a great question. I don't know. What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's a big part of it because, wasn't there like a meme running around with where the agent actually put like highest rated agent in the city of Toronto, city in the city. I don't know if it was Toronto or someplace else, according to my mom.
According to my yeah.
So I think a lot of this, like why we're chasing new business, has to do with how we want to see our name out there.
It could be.
Yeah,
it could absolutely be.
Because as we were just talking about this right now, I was thinking like I want to have again, not being a good listener, I'm just I wanted to have a predictable listing business coming in. That's what I was thinking as you were just discussing about these introductions. And in that whole thought process, it just occurred to me that, it's not so much that I want the listing business. I want somebody to know that I'm there. And just the knowing that I am there to help them sell the place.
Yeah.
That was more attractive to me than to go out and work on a referral.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. And Addy, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just that history's showed us that building your business that way is going to cost you more.
That's right.
And you're going to make less, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of probably, yeah, a lot of agents probably do fall into that trap, if you could call it that. And it probably feels good to be there. And if you're doing enough business, like you hear stories about agents that gross, $800,000 a year and spend $500,000 a year in advertising.
Yeah.
And they're still making $200,000, so I guess that's good.
Yeah.
But I think like that's not the way I would choose to do it. But
you're spending a lot of money. You're propping up the whole economy over here.
Yeah, well,
$500 million.
Yeah, and maybe there's some wisdom in that too. Like I don't know. I think that's the reality of it is there is no one answer that is right or that works for everybody.
Yeah.
But there are certainly ways, depending on where you are in your career, there are certainly ways that you can streamline what you're doing to be the most effective as that you can be. Because I'll guarantee you, the agent that's spending $500,000 in advertising is working a lot of hours.
Yeah.
They're not putting in 25 or 30 hours a year to make $200,000.
They can't afford to. They got to be on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got to be ready, on the phone, available whenever the lead is calling. They got to be able to answer the question, and that's one of my things that I'm dealing with right now. Where if I have a lead that calls in at there are people sitting on the internet, and then they send their lead questions in at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So how do you train that lead that I'm going to get back to you in time, but in time it means that it's going to be after 8 o'clock in the morning. And does that lead stick around for that long?
I don't know. Do you want it to?
The question is, do I want that lead, or do I want it to stick around till then?
Well, I think see, again, and I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but is that the kind of business that you want to build?
Well, it's not the type of business I want to build where I have to reply at 2 o'clock. I don't reply at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
I just let it sit, and I reply to them at 8 o'clock. And if they come back, great. If they don't, they don't. So I will not change. And this is something that we're instilling in our brokerage, like our in-house team, because I'm training them. One of the agents actually, she told me that she actually replied back to somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, wow. No.
That's dedication, isn't it?
That's dedication. No, it's dedication. You're a new agent. I can appreciate that. But you're actually setting up the wrong expectation from your clients now, because they will never let you sleep.
Yeah.
Because if the guy works during the day, if he works at night and he sleeps during the day, you got to stay up during the day, and you're going to have to stay up for him at night because he's going to be sending you emails and expecting you to respond back.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and I agree with you 100%,
yeah.
But that just reminded me of a conversation I had with Barry Lebo.
Yeah.
We were talking about things that you've done in the past to, in a transitioning market and going back to the basics and all that stuff. And he was telling me that at one time he worked nights as a realtor.
Oh.
And he looked for people, he looked for clients, and this I don't want to use the word brilliant, but I thought it was really cool. He looked for clients or people who worked days, who weren't available, who were only available at night, like policemen.
Yes.
Like people who worked the afternoon shift.
12-hour shift.
Yeah, and then he looked for homes that were vacant.
Yeah.
Right? And he went around to the police stations and to factories, and he put up little signs that said, if you're looking for a property, I have a list of vacant properties, we can look at them after your shift at 12 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he said that that particular, when he was using that strategy, he was picking up clients who were happy to go out and look, were thrilled to be able to go out and look at a house when they got off work at midnight.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't something, because that way they could sleep in the morning or whatever, right? That
is amazing.
That is, I thought so too. So yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'll be up at night now.
Well, no, but so it's one of those things. He said, because right now, in the city of Toronto, you can just tell by looking at the MLS photos, there's a lot of empty houses out there.
Yes.
And who cares when you go and see them?
That's right.
You know, it doesn't have to be before dinner, right?
Yeah.
And there are definitely, there must be people who it would be most convenient to look at houses like at 10 o'clock.
You know,
or 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
We could create a sexy marketing strategy around this right now. Yeah. Basically, you could look for, I guess, nurses, fire brigade, fire, police. You could look for not city workers as much, but service based. So anybody that's in service industry, you're looking at people that are working for airport.
Airport, absolutely.
Yeah, airport. So there are 4 industries that you can target. Let's say in Facebook or Google. Google not so much, but Facebook for sure. You can target them.
And you could hit any industry that's working 24 hours a day. Like a night shift,
that's
right? Or day shift, whatever. Sure. People working afternoons.
And then you can create a marketing strategy that is catered to them. And people that are only available to look at properties after hours. And if they're only available to look at properties after hours, you're the guy.
You're the guy.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't that be something, eh?
Yeah. Again, if you're a night owl, this is a perfect strategy for you.
But you know, see, but I think that's again, that's going to be building a business with people you don't know.
Yeah.
But you're providing a unique service as opposed to being the person who shows up on their Facebook stream because you paid for that ad, or shows up on their Google stream because you paid for that ad. You're actually providing a service that they might find useful, right?
Yes.
And it opens up the opportunity to put up posters or to go door to door and to do things, right? And I think that's really kind of a...
But isn't this what marketing is all about? Like having the conversation the prospect is having in their head.
Yep.
Right, so there's a conversation that is going on. There's a gap in the need versus want, and you're just there to fill up that need, and that's like the best example, like the best definition I can find of marketing.
I think that's an excellent definition. Our job is to identify the need. Someone said identify the need and then help them understand how we can help them, right?
Yeah.
It's like they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
Right? But our job as salespeople isn't to make it drink. Our job is to make it realize it's thirsty.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you think?
That's true. That is very true. That's very true. So with the mortgage rules that have come into play.
Oh, okay. That's a good transition. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how's that affecting you? How's that affecting you?
The stress test.
Yeah, the stress test.
Well, in practical terms, it's not it's only affecting me one transaction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate enough, again, because of the nature of my business, I very rarely meet people that are heavily leveraged in their financing. Most of the folks I'm working with are in a place in their life where they'll have mortgages because it's to their advantage to have a mortgage, but they don't have to go groveling to the bank to try and get a mortgage.
Yes.
But I am working on one transaction where we had a 6-month closing because the buyer needed some time to put their whole thing together, but they were pre-approved.
Yes.
And it's supposed to close at the end of this month, which is the end of May. 6 months ago, the bank gave them a commitment, and last month the bank pulled that commitment.
You know, that's very common right now in the marketplace.
It's happening. Well, I understand it. The first time it's happened to me, but I understand it is happening. But and the bank said to him, you know, he said to them, well, you gave me a commitment. They said yes, and the rules have changed. When we made that, if you needed the money when you asked for it, we would have given it to you in a minute.
Yeah.
Just in a heartbeat, you would have had the money. But because the rules have changed, we can no longer offer you that cash, right? And that's been it was really hard for him. He's gone to a B lender now to see if he can put something together. If it doesn't work out for him there, then I think we're going to be I think the seller's going to be in a position to hold a mortgage for him until he gets enough of a track record that the banks will lend to him. But not everyone's in a position to do that.
Yeah.
You know.
And obviously the seller's in a bind now too, because he's going to have to tie up his money in this mortgage, and he can't take advantage of it or whatever he wants to do.
Well, the reality of it was this particular seller is in a lot of ways it's really lucky.
Yeah.
And this particular seller was retiring out of he was just cashing in anyway.
Oh,
so he'll make more money holding the mortgage than over the cash, right?
He doesn't have to pay capital gains either on it then.
No, exactly. So there's a lot of bonuses to that to make it work. He'd rather have the cash, but he'll do this in order to keep the sale together. But I understand that there's a lot of folks that are in a real pickle because of it, because it's just harder. It's just harder.
Do you want to talk about the campaign that Oria is running right now that is highlighting this in Toronto?
I don't know much about that.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that. Tell me about it.
Well, it's a campaign that is running where they're talking about keeping the dream alive, right?
Oh yeah. I don't think they're just running it in Toronto. I think they're running it all right across Toronto.
Yeah, but the data is mostly based out of Toronto.
Yeah, it's all true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think of it?
I think it's a little bit short-sighted.
Okay.
Because we do have areas in Toronto that are affordable.
Yep.
We have areas outside of Toronto that are affordable.
Well, I can't imagine why someone would spend the kind of money they have to spend to live in Toronto when they could drive 60 miles east and live in a palace and have half their money left over.
That's right.
They hire a chauffeur to drive them to Addy and they're still money ahead.
Or they could take the Via Rail.
Absolutely.
They could be at Union Station in what, an hour?
An hour.
Yeah.
An hour from the Coburg Via to Union Station at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Like the work run. It's not the it's the express. It's not the express from Montreal stops in Coburg, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't stop again until it gets to Union Station, I don't think.
Okay.
It's an hour, boom, straight into the city. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, truthfully, there's a real community of folks who do that right now. There's I have no idea what the numbers are, but it could be like 40, 50, 60 people a day on that train every day.
It's funny because when I got introduced to Coburg was, I think, like 7, 8 years ago. That's when we initially started hanging out a little bit more too, because when I was involved with the project over there, and I was blown away to find out that, there's actually a train that runs between downtown and here, and if you ever need to go there, just hop on the train. Yeah,
people say is it the GO train, and the reality of it is, from Oshawa to Union Station on the GO train is an hour.
Yeah.
From Coburg to Union Station on Via is an hour.
It's an hour, yeah.
And then it's like 20 miles further out.
Yeah.
And much lower property values and a better quality of life.
All right, let's stop talking about Coburg.
Sorry.
So going back to our mortgage rules, the way we're talking about it, we're seeing a lot of changes. We're seeing challenges coming into the marketplace right now. And it's being reflected in the prices that we're seeing. So I can talk about Toronto, where we're seeing about $100,000 price difference in the average price. And
up or down?
Down.
Down, because the prices have come down.
Year over year. We were expecting the numbers to be different, drastically different, because we had a record year in 2017. March, April 20th is when the Liberals made the announcement where they brought the non-resident tax, and the non-resident tax actually created a lot of fear in the marketplace, and a lot of people started pulling back. We personally got involved with a couple of transactions where buyers, non-resident buyers, actually had to pay taxes as well. We saw a couple of transactions failing last year as well. So having said that, now we're just in the spillover. So the media companies have a year to milk it, right? Because whenever we're running our numbers, we do it year over year.
Yeah.
So there's usually a 12-month cycle where we're seeing, okay, so the numbers are horrible, numbers are horrible, numbers are horrible. And we started seeing now that the media companies are using, based on, like, we are 15% off based on January last year, so now they're even trying to milk it even longer. But we're seeing different areas having very distinct markets. So I know, for example, the last numbers that came out in March, we were looking at numbers, for example, King City, north of Toronto, north of Vaughan, has a very strong buyer's market. So they have months of inventory close to 3.4 months of inventory. Same thing in Oakville. So the luxury markets we're seeing, which are traditionally a little bit higher, for Oakville we're seeing close to 4 months in inventory. Toronto is at 1.9 months. Milton is at 2.1 months. Mississauga is at 2.2 months of inventory.
And in a balanced market, how much would there be? How many months inventory should there be?
Well, you would be close. Balanced market would be 2.4.
You think so?
Well, balanced market is when buyers. It's not a buyer's market; it's not a seller's market, right? So 2.4.
2.4 months?
Yeah, 2.4 months is the cutoff. Okay, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 2.4 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's not what I'd heard. I always heard it was 5.
5?
Yeah. If no more houses came on the market and people bought at the same velocity they're buying today, in 5 months there'd be nothing left to buy. But maybe that's wrong, Addy. Well, let's Google that. Let me just Google that.
Yeah, Google that. I thought it was 2.4 or 2.5 months. That's the balance. So once you go over 2.5 months, it's considered a buyer's market. Or is it 2.4? I remember 2.4. And then once you go under 2.4 months, that's the seller's market. So that means that there is not enough listings available. There's too many buyers in the marketplace.
Okay, so
while we're doing that, I could talk about Realtor Quest that is coming up next week. So that is May 30th and 31st, happening in Toronto. So if you're a realtor, make sure you go and check it out. You have Trump elections that are also taking place. So if you're a Toronto real estate agent, make sure you cast your vote. Ask your nominees what is it that they're going to be doing about the hot topics that are coming up for the Toronto real estate. We do have REBA reform that is also taking place. So you should check out OREA's website, rebareform.ca, to stay up to date as to what's happening with that as well. So Dave.
So Addy, Trulia, and this is American. Trulia tells us that that 6 months is makes the balanced market. And Point Two, which is a Canadian company, I think it's owned by an American thing.
Point Two Homes you're talking about, right?
Yeah, Point Two Homes. They tell us that if there are 0 to 4 months of inventory, that all current listings can expect to be sold within 4 months. It's considered a seller's market. If there's 5 to 8 months inventory, it's considered a balanced market, and if it's over 9 months, it's considered a buyer's market.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm completely off.
Well, and I think that's probably because you do your business in Toronto, where it's just been so crazy for 2 or 3 years. You just forget these things, you know. Like I know.
Well, it's been like this for 12 years now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, and that's so. That's the challenge with real estate. People buy and sell houses all over the place, but it's not the same everywhere, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And like in my market, I'm not even going to tell you where it is, but in my market, there's even 3 years ago. A 90-day listing period was normal. 120 days was normal for a house to sell. You know, just the way it was. So, you know, we had at that time we probably had 8 or 9 months inventory ahead because people just, and we were selling the same number of homes. That's a curious thing. Yeah. We were selling the same number of homes then. It just took a lot longer to do it. Now we're selling the same number of homes, and we're selling them a lot shorter window of time.
That's amazing, because I know when I was talking with Jill Price.
Yep.
Out of Bancroft, and we were discussing real estate businesses, and I was saying, well, if I have 5 listings, like, I'm pulling my hair out, and she's turning around and telling me, well, I carry 20 to 25 listings on average. Yeah. And it's almost unfathomable in Toronto for somebody to have 20 to 25 listings, because it's just going to be such, you need at least 5 assistants with that.
Yeah, and it's because the business is so different, right?
Yeah.
From place to place.
Absolutely. I wanted to point out to our viewers that our episode over here is sponsored by Agent Locator. Agent Locator actually helps us with our internet, which is why you're able to see us live without any glitches. So if you are looking for a website provider, please do check them out.
They run a heck of a business. Let's talk about what they do for just because Addo has one heck of a platform put together there, and it is targeting people you don't know, right? And it's and so if you're new in the business, or if you want to supplement your existing business by cultivating relationships with people you don't know, the Agent Locator site is one of the avenues someone might investigate to do that, right? They've got a tremendous track record and a tremendous product. It's like it's really high tech. There's no question about it.
Oh yeah, no, they just rolled out a new feature that I love using now. So anytime you get a lead coming in, if you have a Twilio account set up in there, you can send a text message to them, which is old news now. You can actually make phone calls from there now.
Yeah.
So what I have done is my number is 877-439-2339. So I have gotten this 416-952-2339, and then I have 647. So I've gotten all these 2339, the Addy part of my phone number, all of them set up in there. And I can make straight phone calls from the system. It records it and keeps record of it for
It's amazing, isn't it?
So if I ever want to go back and say, hey, what was I talking to this person about?
Yeah.
Oh, and this is the best part. If they ever call me back, the system actually pings it with their phone number and puts it in the CRM, saves it that you had this conversation. They would call and it would ring on your phone.
Wow. You just have to teach it to make toast and you're all right, eh? It's unbelievable. But if that's the kind of business or a part of your business that you want to build, while you're building your business that way, this is a very seamless way to do it, so that once you've got it all put together, you can sit back and say, now I've got another source for some reliable income. It may not be that the same numbers that you're going to get out of your database, but it's another. So how long do you think it would take for someone to actually build It's going to be different everywhere, but
it's going to be different everywhere, and also depends on the quality of leads that are coming through from
Yeah.
the area too, right? So I would imagine that your first lead that you're getting, you're probably somewhere about 6 to 8 months before you're going to actually make money off of it.
Sure. So it's
this is a long-term strategy.
It's a long play.
This is
Absolutely.
something that you have to keep in mind, that this is going to be long-term. Over the course of past year, I think we have generated about, I would say, close to over 400 leads.
Yeah.
Yeah, so over 400 leads we have generated in the past year. Transaction-wise, the numbers haven't been as stellar as I had hoped, but it's also they're also I didn't really track well how much we did from that particular one, because we use a different CRM.
Sure.
So we use Top Producer. So we take all of our leads and we put them in Top Producer, and that's where we do all of our lead generation. But it does generate leads. That's not the point. Is it generates leads, and then it's all about your own conversion as well. How good you are in converting people over. So once you get them on the phone, can you convert them over to?
And the converting of leads on the phone is one of the skills that is probably the most skillful part of that whole process.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we've been working quite hard, I think, for the last 7 sessions on trying to help people develop language skills in their. And we were calling it intentional communications, right? And how we've just hardly scratched the surface on how to communicate with people and how to deal with softeners and lead-ins and all the rest of it. And it's really, as a salesperson, I think that's one of the most fundamental tools that we have, and really one of the most important ones to develop, Addy, because the agent locator site, the Top Producer we talked about, the CRM, the other CRMs you use, the newsletters we talked about, the websites you talked about, those are all things that maybe help you build a business as long as you pay for them.
Yep.
As soon as you stop paying for them, they're out the window. They stop, right? And you may say, well, this isn't working for me. I don't want to do it any longer, so you stop paying for it. That's great. But as soon as you stop paying for any of that stuff, they stop working for you, right? But your language skills, as you develop your language skills, and as you will continue to build on that, and they work for you forever. They don't only work for your business, they work for your family, they work for your friends, they work every time you want to communicate with someone. Being a better communicator isn't restricted to what you do for a living, right? It's important for everything. And and so many salespeople never even think about that. And it's I've been working, as we've been working at it for a long time, but the last couple of weeks I want to share with you. I've been working on a new speech pattern, I guess you call it, or language pattern. The idea is to move people through the process. I've done it. If we played this back, I've probably done it 5 times since we've been talking. But it's try to move people through the process. So when you're talking to someone about selling their home or about buying a home, meet them at an open house or whatever, and you're trying to. There's all kinds of different ways to use it. But the idea is to take someone and say, okay, so they want to sell their home. That's what they're sellers. That's what they are. Well, if you say to someone, sell your house, you want to sell your house. Well, that's a stagnant word, right? It's just standing still. So if you put an ing on a word, it becomes a movie.
So what's important about selling your home?
Selling, right? So it's like a dog can run, but when you say a dog is running in your mind, you see that action, you see that, right? Absolutely, so you see that movement. And then so there's 3 stages to this. The first is you take the standing still word, or the frozen word, if you want to call it that, and you give it life by adding ing to it, and then you help people seeing themselves or imagining themselves having done that, whatever it was. So selling, right? So someone says they want to sell their house, so you think you want to sell your house. That's great. Well, while you're thinking of selling your home, I can help you with that by giving you all the market information. I can help you understand where things are and make sure so that as you move forward with this, you're making the right decision. Then once you've got your house sold, once we've got your house sold,
it's a team effort.
Yeah, you'll feel good about what you've done. You'll be moving forward knowing that you've done it, right? And so building that into that 3-stage sentence. And people, I'm amazed. I've been doing it a lot, consciously, and people listen. And as soon as you put the ing word in, you can see in their mind, you can see in their eyes that it tweaks something, right? They can see the movement, they can see themselves doing it. And then you put it in the past tense, and they've already done it. And it helps them. The theory is it should help them feel comfortable moving forward. And if you use the right, whether you're trying to get an introduction, whether you're trying to have them know the kind of services you provide, whether you're trying to make an appointment to come over and take a look at it, you can just whatever it is, you just plug those that three-step system in, and it's I'm finding that it's softening people. It's a good step. It's a neat thing to be able to do.
That's amazing.
I know it is. It's absolutely amazing. But
Yeah.
take the still word, make it a movie, and then put in the past tense, and people will have. They started with the idea, they saw themselves do it, and then they saw themselves having done it.
Yes. So past, present, and future.
Yeah.
Amazing. So maybe we should go back and actually continue with our little massive series. We're actually doing a training, right? Aren't we? We're attending a training, a 4-day training course down in Toronto. And we're going to be, that's in June, that's coming
in June,
up.
the end of June,
so 4 days of intense language training that we're going through.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be interesting because I'm expecting that to actually change how I talk. I won't have marbles in my mouth anymore.
Well, you know what, though, and again, there's in my experience, there's absolutely no more powerful tool than being able to communicate and know what you want to say and know the point. And an example, we had last month I had a transaction where the house was built in a relatively new home in a beautiful location. It had the hydro panels, like the microfit electrical generating panels on the roof, right?
Oh, the solar panels.
Solar panels on the roof. And this was one of the early ones where they were guaranteed, I don't remember the number, but it was a really high price, like 23 cents a kilowatt or something like that.
Wow.
They were making money at it.
Because right now they're 3, 6.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This house was generating, and they had proof it was making something like $7,000 a year, $8,000 a year in hydro. That's what it was doing.
Yeah.
And the question becomes, how do you capitalize that? Because when you want to sell the house, there's a value there and all the rest of it. We negotiated, and it was really hard. We negotiated with both the buyer and the seller to arrive at a capital value for the electrical panels over and above the value of the house. And then the transfer of that contract, there's a lot of legal language that's convoluted, and it's more complicated than we need to get into today. But upon inspection, it was determined that unfortunately there was a 20-year contract for solar panels was put on a roof that was only good for 13 years.
Oh.
Like, who would have known, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere 13 years ago, someone misled someone because someone thought they were putting a 30-year roof on, but it was only a 15-year roof.
Oh.
And so now there's an issue. The roof has to be replaced before the life of the solar panels has gone, right?
That's amazing.
I know. Now,
we talked about this before.
We did.
Yeah.
And so now you would think, as a seller, that's a problem.
Yes.
Right? Then they have a position they're going to establish. As a buyer, that's a problem.
Yes.
And they're going to establish a different position, right? And I mean, and at one point, I think the buyer thought, well, I'm not even going to buy this house.
Yes.
That's terrible, right? And it took about 5 minutes to put it all together.
Do explain.
Well, it was really, honestly, the reason it took that long was because I sat down and developed a strategy, and I figured out how the conversation really should go, right? And so at the end of the day, the point was, the roof is wearing out. The roof and no matter who buys the house, the roof is wearing out.
Yeah.
This is the conversation with the seller, right? There's no question in the world the roof is wearing out, and whether this gentleman buys the house or another family buys the house, the roof's still going to be the same roof. It's still going to be wore out. And now that we know it's wearing out, we have to tell people. We can't not disclose that. And the seller said, well, that makes sense. And the buyer was paying a figure for the roof panels in good faith. The buyer shouldn't be responsible for taking the roof panels off and putting them back on again.
Yes.
And that was actually a significant amount of money. But a specialized contractor has to come in, lift off the solar panels, then a roofer's going to come in and change the roof, and then the guy's going to come back in and put the solar panels back on, right?
Yes.
Well, that should not be the new buyer's responsibility.
That's correct.
Like, logically, it just doesn't make sense that it should be, right? But that's what the seller said. The seller said, of course that shouldn't be his fault. I wouldn't make that deal. No, of course not. It's okay, that's good. So the seller said, then I'll have to pay for the taking off and replacing the panels, right? Fine. So then what about the new roof? Well, if the house had a new roof when it came on the market, it would have been worth a little bit more. It wouldn't be worth the price of a roof.
Yes.
It would be worth a little bit more, maybe more saleable, right?
Yes.
But we sold it relatively quickly anyway.
Yes.
So the most you could, I said to the seller, the most you could really hope to get maybe would be half the value of the roof.
Yes.
Right? And he said, well, that's fair. Okay, so I'll look for a credit for half the value of the roof then. And I said, well, okay, you can do that. That's absolutely fair. He said, but I want to get my roofer to look at it. And that was the beautiful step for him to take, because he said, I'd like for my roofer to look at it. And I said to him, that's great, and you're welcome to do that, but then you'll be responsible for it. What the buyer's asked for is just a credit to the purchase amount, and he's going to be responsible for it after he closes.
Yeah.
And the seller looked at me, he said, just where do I sign?
Done?
Like, that's right. Like, that's a headache I don't need. Like, for half the price of a roof, I don't need that hassle.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It all took about 3 or 4 minutes just to have that conversation, and the seller was really happy once he understood it, right?
Yeah.
But that whole conversation was couched in language that helped the seller understand his position. And in 4 minutes, it was done. My team member that came in with me, who was really the lead on that transaction, was shocked, because she thought it was going to turn into a 2-hour debate, and it'd be going back and forth, and paper would be flying all over the place. And I said, no, it can't be that hard, because when you think about it, logically, there's no reason for it to be this hard.
Yes.
And it wasn't that hard. But that was only because I have some language skills, and I worked at it, right? I work at those skills. And
if you go in and start butting heads right away, of course, you're going to be there for 2-3 hours.
Absolutely.
Trying to make your point, who's screaming louder. That's usually how those conversations end up being.
And it should not be that way.
Yeah.
And as salespeople, it's our job, it's our responsibility to learn how to help those people make those decisions. Because in this case, the deal could have fallen apart, in which someone who really wanted a home and fell in love with a house wouldn't have it.
Yes.
And a family that wanted to move forward couldn't. Yes. Right? And it would have been a real shame for that to happen, because the salespeople didn't have the skills to help everyone understand what the choices really were.
Transaction forward.
Yeah.
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 Wow, that's really interesting story. So let me take a step back over here. We were talking about building successful careers.
Yes.
So we were also talking about agent locator.
Yes.
Being a high tech. We were also talking earlier, before this, we were talking about actually going low tech with all of your marketing, and how to build businesses going low tech. So going with flyers and doing flyers and door knocking. So is there a better option, going high tech or going low tech? Which one do you prefer?
Well, I don't know if I can answer it just that way. I think I think that it depends on where you are in your business and your career and the kind of business that you've built, right? And in the market that you're trying to work. We use at the Northumberland Home Values Group, we use a lot of low tech stuff. We use a lot of door hangers and a lot of door knocking and a lot of being in the community, trying to build relationships as a part of our plan and our strategy, and we've had good success doing that. But at the same time, we also have a very active blog, and we also have like search engine optimization as a part of it. We use Facebook advertising and that kind of thing as well. But it's there should be a balance. And again, because of the time that I've been in the business, an awful lot of a disproportionate part of from the average, we spend more time trying to cultivate past relationship as find random new ones type of thing. And it. I think in Mississauga, there's probably a better chance of people using more high tech than low tech, right?
Well, I guess from my perspective, I would look at it. Who's your target audience?
Yep.
Who's your target audience, and you're trying to reach? Of course, there's an older audience in Cobourg than it is in Mississauga or in Toronto. So if you're in Toronto, chances are that you're probably only going to be in high tech. Because I can't imagine somebody sending flyers to a condo and to anybody actually looking at it. But having said that, it still works too, because there's a lot of agents out there that are building their businesses just based on flyers. So I think a combination of the two, but knowing who you're reaching is a big part of it. So if you're in an older neighborhood where there's a lot of older people, definitely having a low-tech option, which is going and knocking on doors and going and cold calling. Make sure you have your do not call list ready. Make sure you have flyers going out. That is a low-tech option that would actually supplement well if you are going with a high-tech option.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, if you were going to be the midnight agent we talked about earlier, then a certain part of that's going to be low-tech for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But
sticking a flyer out, a sign outside.
Yeah, I mean, look at the exit of the parking lots, the factory parking lot, right? Put a little sign that you can stick in the ground that says, you want to look at property after your shift, I'm available till 1 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something. So there will be some low tech there, but there
Yeah.
also could be some high tech as well, right?
Yeah.
Like tapping into Facebook pages, as you said, or whatever, like trying to join those communities, right?
Yeah. Well, this has been an interesting session.
It has been, Addy.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, and you know what? We got to get Barry on here.
Yeah, well, yes, in the next month or so. We'll have
Yeah. Because I really like his insights, and he's been in the business, what, 50 years now?
50 years.
Yeah, 50 years. So the man has a lot to teach. So we're gonna try to get Barry in here for our next session.
The thing, Addy, about that is if I may, he's been in the business for 50 years. And there are things that have not changed in 50 years and won't change in 50 years that are just as successful today, and they will be as they were then, right?
Yeah.
Some things have changed a lot, but there's some things that haven't changed at all. And that's what I love, that kind of conversation, because there's some things you go, holy schmolies, that just makes so much sense. And because of the shiny button, or whatever you want to call it, syndrome that we all suffer from, we forget those things.
That's right. All right. So definitely try to get Barry in here for next month or the month after, depending on what his schedule and our schedule availability. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys got some good value out of this. And if you have any questions or concerns, please leave a comment below or send us a question. REMarkTO at heyaddy.com. Or you can just leave a comment below and we'd be more than happy to get back to you. Or you can also join our meetup group, meetup.com/REMarkTO, and you can start a discussion over there if you have any questions. We're also looking for topics as well for our conversation, so